It took me 3 years and $50,000 in blown accounts to figure out why I wasn't a profitable trader. And even after I finally found a strategy that worked, I still couldn't keep the money because I had zero systems in place to actually execute it. And the moment I built those systems around what I now call the session liquidity model, I went from blowing every funded account I touched to pulling $30,000 in a single month trading. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I got to build it, how it works, and how you can plug it into your own trading, just like my students who've used it to go from inconsistent months to clearing 10, 15, and even 30K a month from these markets. So let's get right into it. Now, a couple years ago, I was still in college working at a grocery store stocking shelves for $7 an hour. And I had already tried every other way to make money online, like drop shipping, Amazon FBA, YouTube automation, all of it, but none of it stuck. So when I found day trading, I was convinced this was going to be different. I took out extra student loan money, $5,000 that was supposed to go towards school more specifically, and I put half of it into a trading account to trade options. My very first live trade, I bought SPY calls with zero real analysis and no systems in place. I was on the 1 minute time frame trading what I thought was a support level. And the moment I clicked buy, there was a massive red candle straight to the downside and my account got cut in half in minutes. I froze. My hand was on the sell button shaking and I literally could not press it. That was the fastest I'd ever lost $1,000 in my entire life. But something clicked in that moment, because if I could lose money that fast, that meant I could make money that fast too. And that got me hooked. So I went all in on learning this skill. I'm talking back testing 10, 11, 12 hours a day, waking up at 7 p.m. to trade Asia session, setting an alarm for 1 a.m. to catch London, and back up at 7 a.m. for New York. I did that for 3 months straight while still going to class and still working my job. I tried every strategy I could find on YouTube, ICT concepts, support and resistance, trend lines, or whatever was popular that week. And I was buying funded account challenges left and right. But I blew every single one of them. Every time I thought I had it figured out, something else fell apart. I'd get the analysis right, but take too many trades. Or I'd find a clean setup and then hold the loser too long because I couldn't force myself to take the loss. Or I would string together a green week and then give it all back in one revenge trade on a random Tuesday. And that cycle went on for almost 3 years. But something started happening during those months of trading every single session that I never would have noticed if I was only trading New York like most people. I would mark up session highs and lows during Asia, go to sleep, and then watch those exact levels get tapped and reversed during London or New York. Every single day, the same thing was playing out. I literally felt like I was rewatching a movie on repeat over and over again. And that's when it hit me that the market isn't random. Institutions are doing the same thing every single session. They push price up into areas where retail traders have their stop losses clustered. They trigger those orders and then they reverse. Once I saw that, I could not unsee it. And that pattern became the foundation of what I now call the session liquidity model. But what took me another year and a half to figure out was that the model was only 20% of what I needed. I could read the chart just fine. My analysis was right more often than not, but I still couldn't keep the money. Because every time my head wasn't right, my emotions would take over and I'll start making decisions on the fly. And that's when I finally realized that strategy was never the problem. The 80% I was missing was systems. So I went back and built 3 systems around my strategy that took every emotional decision out of my hands. The first one was the entry system. Every morning, I mark out my session opens for Asia, London, and New York. Then I drop to the lower time frame and mark the session highs and lows from each one. Those are the only levels I trade. I either trade toward a session high or low or away from one, or I trade a break and retest of one. And if none of those setups present themselves, then there's no trade for the day. Point blank, period. And that alone is what stopped me from taking trades just because they looked good, but now because my only job is to find the setup. If it's there, I take it. If it's not there, I close the charts and I go live my life. That shift from scanning charts for hours, trying to force something, to knowing exactly what I'm looking for, walking away when it's not there, changed how I operated completely. And by the way, if you're still here right now realizing that you've got the strategy part down, but nothing behind it to keep you consistent, I'll leave a link below where you can apply to work with me directly. Now, the second piece is the execution system. And if you don't have this dialed, it doesn't matter how good your entries are, because you'll keep entering at the right level, watching the trade move in your direction, and still giving it all back because you couldn't stick to your stop loss or your targets. So before I built this, my stop loss was completely discretionary. I'll tell myself that if price crosses this level and closes below it, I'll get out. But when you're in a losing trade and your emotions are screaming at you to hold, that decision never goes the way you plan. So I backtested two approaches: stop loss above the candle wick versus stop loss above the swing high. And that data showed that above the candle didn't change my win rate at all, but it gave me a significantly tighter risk to reward ratio on every single trade. I did the same thing with my take profit. Instead of eyeballing when to get out, I started targeting session liquidity levels because the data proved that's where price wants to go. So now my entries, stops, and targets are all decided before I even place the trade. There's nothing left to think about in the moment, which means there's nothing left for my emotions to interfere with. But even with the first two systems locked in, there was still one thing that kept costing me money. One trade a day keeps the 9 to 5 away. That's my rule. And it matters more than you think. Because by the time you sit down in front of your charts, you've already made 100 decisions that morning. Things like what to eat, when to work out, what to study, how to handle whatever came up before you even opened the laptop. You're already decision fatigued before you look at a single candle. And when you stack discretionary stops, discretionary targets, and no limits on how many trades you can take on top of that, you're asking your brain to perform at its worst on the thing that matters the most. So the system removes all of it. I find my setup, I place my trade, and I set my stop and my targets, and I walk away. And while I'm at the gym or eating breakfast or handling the rest of my day, the trade runs without me touching it. And that one shift fixed over trading, revenge trading, and selling winners early at the same time. Because the moment you take the decision out of your own hands, you take the emotion out with it. And I'll tell you the exact moment I knew for sure that this works. I was supposed to be trading MGC, which is micro gold, where one tick moves $10. But I hadn't realized I loaded up GC instead, which is full size gold, where one tick is $100. I placed my trade, set my stop, and I set my target and went to the gym, just like I do every single day. When I came back, that single trade had made me $15,000. That was half of what I normally make in an entire month from one trade while I was doing bicep curls at the gym. It was genuinely crazy to imagine what setting one trade and being done can do when you set and forget. Now, if that trade had gone the other way, I would have blown the account because I was way over my normal risk without even knowing it. But the session liquidity target hit exactly where the data said it would. And that month ended up being my biggest month ever at $30,000. The system worked because I wasn't there to mess with it. And that's my trading now. But I didn't build all of this just to keep it for myself, because the whole reason I started teaching was to become the person I needed when I was the one blowing accounts and figuring it out alone. So when I started putting other traders through the same system, I wanted to see if it would work for someone else that wasn't me. Carlos came to me having never passed a funded account in his life. He knew about things like liquidity, fair value gaps, order blocks, all the concepts, but he had no structure and no systems behind any of it. So after I gave him the session liquidity model, built his entry, execution, and psychology systems alongside him, within 30 days, he passed his first funded account ever and pulled his first payout. Or Marcus was already profitable at 10 to 15 grand a month, but couldn't break past that ceiling. We went into his strategy, implemented the same stop loss take profit systems that I just showed you, and he scaled to $30,000 a month easy. He made back his entire investment in the program in a single trading day. And also Yobesh, who started with a 4-week mentorship, passed his top step $50K valuation, quit his 9 to 5, and now trades full time. He actually runs my client success calls now because he knows the system inside and out. I bring all of this up because when I was still working at that grocery store, trying to figure this stuff out on my own, the thing I wanted more than anything was to find someone who had actually been where I was and made it work. Not somebody who got lucky on a meme stock or inherited capital from your parents. I wanted to see a regular person who blew accounts, lost money they shouldn't have been trading with, and still figured out a way to make this work. And that person did not exist for me at the time. So I had to become that person myself. I remember what it feels like to blow an account and have to act like everything's fine the next morning. Calling my parents and telling them trading was going well when I was losing every dollar I had. And the shame of watching student loans money disappear, knowing it was never mine to risk in the first place. That's exactly why I do this now, because I figured all of it out alone and nobody should have to. So if you're tired of having the analysis but not the consistency, and you want someone to come into your trading, look at exactly how you operate and build the systems you need to actually keep the money you're making, I'll leave a link in the description below where you can fill an application to see if you'd be a good fit for the Day Trading Accelerator, where you get access to 6 months of direct mentorship with me, live calls every week, and a community of traders who are all running the same system. So again, the link for that is in the description below. Apply. I'll see y'all boys in the next one. Peace out.